Kia ora. Good evening. I I'm I don't know whether to be angry at what I've just discovered, doing my investigation to present to the king, or whether I'm heartbroken. I have found evidence. See this whole thing with Keir Starmer. We're sending troops to Greenland. We stand by Greenland. I found evidence that the British government have been planning for this event in Greenland since at least February of last year. And that this whole thing with taking Maduro's ship in Venezuela and blaming everything on Russia has been planned since at least the first time Trump was in office, which means that him losing the election the second time was fake. What they've done after he was president the first time, they brought Biden and Harris in to make a mess of everything, make everything woke and, rile people up, knowing that they were going to bring Trump back in because he's been planning this invasion of Greenland since he was president the first time. Bezos and Zuckerberg, all the AI demons got themselves in position when he was president the first time to take over, the lithium and all that because they need it for their AI because like AI stuff just uses so many natural resources in the planet. It just rapes the planet of resources in order to run it, and none of it's good anyway. They've been planning this since Trump was president the first time, and Great Britain's been secretly preparing, training for it. So this whole Starmer we stand by Greenland, it's all bullshit. They've been preparing the troops in Scotland since last year. I found evidence just completely by accident. I had it saved just completely by accident. And then started putting two and two together that some of the aircraft they were using to take the Bella 1 on the 7th, they'd been training for it since February of last year. And this whole preparing the troops for NATO, getting boots on the ground, they've been preparing for it since 2016. Who was British Prime Minister in 2016? Which means they've always known that Trump was going to get in the second time. They had to make Biden and Harris look so bad that people begged Trump to come back in so that he would look like the good guy. Remember the Q post where he talks about removing the Queen, checkmate for the King, removing this, that, and the other thing. The Fabian Society, their whole, wolf in sheep's clothing, that's them basically their motto, and their whole process, the strategy that they play is going so slowly and moving so slowly that you don't notice what's creeping up on you. It means that they set Ukraine up, they set Russia up, and it's been planned since Donald Trump was president the first time. All the money that they gave Ukraine to fight the war with Russia was so that when they were ready to, fake this peace deal, they'd get all the money back, kind of like the war that they gave, the money that they gave, that Biden and Trump have given Ukraine, was a loan so that they could cause as much trouble for Russia as they possibly could, so that they could wipe out as many Ukrainians as they could, so that when it was over, they'd be able to come in and get the resources. And they put people like Zuckerberg and Musk and, all the AI dickheads in position, ready to take over the resources and stuff, so that they could bring in the new world order of digital IDs and, using AI to read people and scan and all that. And it means that it was all a lie. Him, oh, I lost the election and the insurrection, and it's all been planned. It was all staged. Biden and Harris were in on it. They were all in on it. It was all done as an excuse since at least 2016. So it means that Russia was telling the truth when they said that the war in Ukraine actually started. The war with Ukraine actually started in 2014. He was telling the truth. Donald Trump has been planning this invasion of Greenland and taking the resources from Ukraine to pay them back for the money that they gave them to fight this war since 2016. And then Biden and Harris came in to do their thing, to destroy America enough and start this war with Russia enough, so that people would be begging Trump to get back into power, so that he could come in. And he's already doing it with Iran. I can bring troops in, like I can help you stop these riots and stuff. And Mossad agents have been caught instigating the riots, which means it's all a lie. The whole thing is a lie. I said from day one that they were the Israel and American that were wanting to cause trouble for Iran and Venezuela and Palestine and Russia. And it's like check, ticked all the boxes, so that they can have all the resources, the oil, the gold, the lithium, the everything. They need the lithium for their AI stuff, for their electric vehicles and all that, because using AI is one of the reasons why I hate AI. I will never ever embrace AI in anything. It uses so much natural resources to run. It's pure evil. And what I've uncovered is that Britain's been preparing for this for as long as Donald Trump's been in office, pretty much. So who was Prime Minister of Great Britain in 2016? It wasn't Boris Johnson, was it? Was it Boris Johnson? Who was before him? Gordon Brown? I'll have to have a look. Which means that I feel devastated. Like I'm have you ever been so angry you're calm? Like the only way to deal with the rage and the anger is to just sit in a calm place. That's how I feel. Why? Because over 1 million Ukrainians have been slaughtered over a very slow chess match, with the express purpose of starting a world war with Russia, to kill off the King David bloodline, dethrone the monarchy, hand over Great Britain to the EU, and pillage the countries they invade, the countries they take over, all their natural resources. It's just come out. I'd been saying to the King, all of a sudden there's this pro-Brexit propaganda stuff popping up on X, and other people started saying it too. After the invasion, after the whole Venezuela thing, and Starmer and his military was so brave taking on an empty vessel that had nothing on it other than children, like they probably spent billions doing this raid on an empty vessel that had nothing on it, for them to turn around and say, well, we had to arrest Maduro because he was drug trafficking and, this, that and the other thing. And then in the end, what they charged him with was having weapons in his own home in a country that had nothing to do with America. Be like America knocking on my neighbour's door and arresting him because he had a knife in his kitchen. So it was all a lie, the whole thing, arresting him, why they were arresting him. It was to get him out of Venezuela, and now what's happening is there's riots kicking off in Venezuela. There's people setting fires to buildings in America that are pro-Trump supporting. The rage is starting to build, and now I've found out with evidence that the whole thing was a lie. Keir Starmer, this propaganda, I said to the king, there's a lot of propaganda about, oh, I was talking to a friend who's in Britain and I'm in France, and, people keep saying they want to go back to Brexit. They want to leave Brexit. They want to go back to the EU. It's just come out that the worst time, what am I trying to say? Put the words, it's because I'm so angry. Britain's worst phase economically was when they were in the EU. Keir Starmer has been lying. The propaganda of, saying that people want to rejoin the EU, it's all a lie. Great Britain did better before we were in the EU, and after we were in the EU. Our worst time economically was when we were in the EU. Someone there's like a big graph. There's this big report that someone's done that's proven that everything that he's been trying to say about, how it's going to be good for the economy and create jobs and blah, 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 is all a lie. He's selling off the king and the British Empire to feed a lie, and it's been planned for years. I'm angry because I was a Trump supporter, and I stood by his side. I was nearly murdered defending that man. I was locked up defending that man. I was punished for defending that man. I put all my gifts in that to help him win his election because I thought he was one of the good guys. Then I turned out I was the bait. He was watching everything I did, copying things. He stole my movie and all of that later on, and it turns out it was all a lie. They've been planning this since 1985. Him and Tony Blair, they've been planning this whole thing since 1985. The Fabian Society, the whole point of destroying Christianity, bringing in an influx of illegal immigrants in that to destroy the confidence of English people, getting rid of the monarchy, getting people reliant on benefits, breaking up the traditional family home, removing the father, removing the husband, so that women are reliant on benefits and that, and basically joining like a global federation. It's part of the Fabian Society, and their whole strategy is move so slow that they sneak under the radar. But I have X-ray vision. I see in the dark. I'm a Scorpio. We glow in the dark. And it turns out that they bought Biden and Harrison in order to destabilize America, so that when they brought him in the second time, the smiling shark people wouldn't realise what he'd been doing behind the scenes the first time he was president, setting all the chess pieces in place to invade Greenland, to go to war with Ukraine. They went to war. This whole thing with Russia, they started this war back in 2014, just like Putin has been saying from day one. They put Zelensky in power to be the face of this war, so that they could pour all this money into having this war, killing over a million soldiers. I don't know how many on Russia's side, but over a million soldiers have died now, under the guise of war, so that when they were ready to, okay, now it's time to, we'll sign this peace deal. It was strategically planned so that they could launder money. Zelensky and his pals would take their cut to, for being the actors, and then they would get all their money back through like the lithium mines and stuff, and taking the gold. And so if they've put in say 200 billion, they'll get like $1 trillion back by the time it's all done, because war is profit. But I'm angry because Trump, America, and France, and Germany, and Ukraine, and probably Greenland have been planning this since he was president the first time. But they needed time to put everything in place, to put their plan into action, so they brought Biden and Harris in. So they brought like Johnson and all that in, to then bring in COVID, kill off the Queen, to have access to the King. And he spells it out in that Q post. So the American people have been lied to this whole time by the Democrats and the Republicans, by Biden and Harris and the Trump administration both times. This whole thing of election rigging, remember they brought Maduro in, rigged the elections, he really did win the election, blah, blah, blah. It was all a lie. The Democrats were accused of rigging elections, the Republicans have been accused of rigging elections, but it's all a lie. They knew he was going to be president before the elections. Even Elon Musk knew who was going to be president before the elections, because it was all planned. It's been planned for a long time. And the American people and the British people and the people of Ukraine and the French and the Germans and the Poles and the Estonians and the Canadians and the Australians and the New Zealanders and every taxpayer and every soldier and everyone who's donated for that war in Ukraine were all lied to. It was all a plan. It's all been strategically planned, just so that they could blame Russia, just so that they could get rid of the king and then reap the rewards of the bounty. And I'm so angry. These are people that we're supposed to be able to trust. And they've been lying to us this whole time. Trump was never on our side. Starmer was never, we know Starmer was never on our side. Boris Johnson, Tony Blair, none of them, they've never been on our side. They've never given a shit about any of us. Carney, Trudeau, Albanese, Ardern, any of them. They murdered our Queen on purpose to get her out of the way, to have access to the King, so that they could talk him into slowly selling off the British Empire, so that when they brought Starmer in, because remember he's a Freemason, so they've known he was going to be a part of this since he was a kid. He was probably born and raised knowing he was going to be Prime Minister from a young age, so that by the time they brought Starmer in, the British monarchy was so embroiled in controversy with the Jeffrey Epstein thing, that people would want to see the back of him. And now that this whole truth has come out about Keir Starmer lying about Brexit, people are now blaming the king. He's getting the blame for everything. The whole Peter Mandelson, he did an interview for the BBC, not apologising for his relationship with, for his friendship with Epstein. So now people are bringing up the whole Prince Andrew thing. They're slowly, and I told the king it was going to happen, very, very slowly, strategically throwing the king under the bus. Because now people are saying, get rid of him. The king's useless, get rid of him. He's a traitor, he's a this. His brothers are nonce, this, that, and the other thing, blah, blah, blah. And now this report's come out about Brexit, and then I just accidentally stumbled across. And it was all to do with the Typhoon fighters doing training in Scotland, Lossiemouth, and that, where they have all like the nuclear stuff. And remember, Trump wants access to the nuclear codes, and the submarine that Putin sent to follow the tanker was a nuclear one. I can't believe that it was all a lie. Trump was going to win whether a single person voted or not. Biden and Harris were going to win whether a single person voted or not. Trump was going to come in again whether a single person voted or not. It wasn't going to matter who you voted for. What's happening right now in the world has been planned since he was president the first time, going all the way back to when they were talking about making him president in 1985, at the time when Tony Blair was coming up in politics. With the plan of slowly destroying the monarchy and destabilising Russia. So everything America's going through, the homelessness, the poverty, same thing with Britain and that. It's been planned for a long time, and it was going to happen whether Biden and Harris got in, or Trump or not. It really honestly looks like, hang on, sorry, it really honestly looks like they brought Biden and Harris in to appear like the idiots, so that people would beg Trump to come back in, so he would look like the saviour. Remember, he even said in an interview, someone said, "Are you the second coming?" And he nodded and said, "Yeah." I think it looks like the reason why they didn't give him a second term the first time, why they brought Biden and Harris in, was to set up the whole, to fan the flames of the war in Ukraine. And then, of course, Trump comes in, "I'm going to end the wars." And he started 8. So people are like, yeah, bring him in because he's going to end the wars, and he's going to go after Fauci, and he's going to do this and going to do that, and he's done none of it because it was all a lie. He never had any intention of fulfilling any of his election pledges, because from day one, the day after his inauguration, the very people that have set themselves up in Greenland since he was president the first time. He had in his Oval Office the day after his inauguration, which is proof that this has been planned the whole time. Bill Gates, Bezos, Musk, all of them, they were in his office. Well, Bill Gates wasn't, but you know what I mean. Having dinner with them and that, because this has been planned this whole time, which also proves, because Donald Trump was setting this up with Bill Gates in 2016 when he was president the first time. It's proof that they allowed COVID to happen to kill the Queen. They chemically engineered COVID. When Trump was president the first time, he allowed Gates to do it so they could kill the Queen and put the plan into action to destabilise the monarchy and abolish the monarchy once Charles was king. They saw him as the soft monarch, the soft option. They made sure that as he was like growing up, basically, you know, standing on his own 2 feet, waiting to be king, supporting him with enough of the right friends connected to Epstein and that, so that when they pulled this plan off, he would be the one that was thrown under the bus, and then people would say, abolish the monarchy, let's be a republic, and they'd say, no, we've got to, let's just join the European Federation. We're going to join the European Federation because we're better off economically if we go back to the EU, and now it's all a lie. So I was right about everything. I haven't been wrong about a single thing. I just didn't know that Trump had been planning this Greenland thing, and the British military had been planning this Greenland thing since 2016. The troops had been training for it and getting ready for what's just happened with the Bella One and that since February of last year, since just after he got into office, which means as soon as he got into office after he had his inauguration and that, they were already putting the plan into action to put boots on the ground in Greenland, which just happened to be 7 months after Starmer got into office. So he's been working with Trump this whole time. So see how he's saying, we're not standing for this America, we're sending our troops in and putting boots on the ground. It's all bullshit. They're all in on it together. All the same people that work with Starmer and Palantir and all that got the defence contracts are all the same people that they're quote unquote standing against in Greenland. You don't fight the people that are paying billions to win your defence contracts. That doesn't make any logical sense. Why are you going to war with the very people who run your military defence systems? They've been caught out on the. This is a scandal of such high order. The only way this is going to be dealt with is by executing every single one of them. The Palantir dude, Thale, Gate, we're going to have to execute them. We're going to have to send them to trial, charge them with high treason, war crimes, and all of that, and execute the lot of them. Elon Musk, all of them, dirty, rotten, filthy, evil, sinful, disgusting traitors who have zero souls and no conscience. And people like that do not deserve to breathe the same air as the rest of us. There are over 1 million Ukrainian soldiers who have been sacrificed. Millions of children have been ripped from their homes, had their organs ripped out of them. They've had unspeakable acts of evil done upon their pure, innocent souls, just so that those demonic, evil, devil worshipping, vampiric vampires and cannibals could have gold and oil and lithium, and they're sick in the head. These people can only be described as criminally insane. No person with a moral conscience would ever dream of devising such a diabolical, nefarious scheme to dethrone the British Empire and the king just to get their hands on gold and oil. And then greedy. We have to kill off everybody so we can keep it all to ourselves. It's my precious, my precious. Gollum insane. This goes beyond James Bond villain, Despicable Me villainy like this. This is unspeakable evil that only God and Satan himself could understand. This is evil on a biblical level. I'm so sad for Ukraine. Watching all those mothers and wives and their kids, those goons, those brainless, mindless goons turning up and taking the men off the street and that, sending them on the battlefield. Kids with Down syndrome have been shot on the battlefield. And people laughing because, innocent little Down syndrome kid didn't know what he was doing and then he got shot dead. And it's been planned this whole time. Vladimir Putin was telling the truth when he said this started in 2014. He was telling the truth. He's been blamed for things. He's had the whole world turn against him for nothing more than a sick, twisted plot to ensure that Russia never got the claim of the New Jerusalem, the New Holy Land, so that Charles would never be able to enjoy being king without being despised and hated by people who think he's a traitor to Great Britain and the British Empire. They've been lied about, they've been blackmailed, they've been slandered. The propaganda against those two is just nothing short of sinister, and they've had it planned since the 80s with the monarchy. They've had it planned for a long time, but in regards to the destruction of America, the tearing down of Great Britain, and invading Greenland, and that has been planned since Donald Trump came into power. This whole thing has been a lie. Everything that's happened in America since Biden and Harris and Trump's second term was all planned. Their feuds with each other is a lie. They're all in on it together. They all have something to gain from going to war with Russia in terms of getting their money back through the resources and laundering. Remember I said this whole war in Ukraine was a money laundering scheme. And I was right. And they've all got money invested in the vaccines and the weapons and the resources and the AI. They've all got shares and investments in it all. Gold, silver, Bitcoin, everything they were wanting to have control over. And Starmer thought that he was going to be able to sneak it all in under God and the king's nose, and no one would notice. But I've been working my ass off to do these investigations since before I got locked up because I was defending Putin and Trump. I almost died for that asshole. I mean, not Vladdy. It's been an honour serving him. I almost died for Donald Trump. I got called nuts. I got called crazy because I thought he was going to create the America that I keep seeing, that I've been seeing since I was having these predictions about the cleansing since the 90s. And then it turns out he was Lucifer. And Biden and Harris were helping him set up Russia and the king. And as a result, our queen was murdered. And millions of Ukrainians have suffered. Over a million casualties, millions suffering, Russia getting the blame, the king getting the blame, and the whole thing's been a lie. Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, all of it. It's just Iran, but people are just, they've all been working together to perpetuate this lie just so that they could get their hands on oil and gold and silver, and none of it they can take with them when they die. So my dad used to say, there's no point being the richest man in the graveyard. Enjoy it while you're alive, because you can't take it with you when you die. So I'll put the links in the description box. But this needs to get out. The world needs to know what our world leaders have been secretly doing behind closed doors. This video needs to go viral. It needs to get out. People need to know the truth about what Biden and Harrison, the Trump administrations, and Boris Johnson and Keir Starmer and von der Leyen, the EU, Ukraine, all of it. I don't know if Greenland were a part of it. I don't know if they've been a part of it. I don't know if the fact that the AI demons have been set up in Greenland since 2016 and investing in the resources, the natural resources and stuff, would suggest that they're in on it, but I have no proof that they were in on it yet. They could be like the next Ukraine. They could be the ones that now that the whole thing in Ukraine's coming to an end, by design, not like a look, this war needs to come to an end sort of thing. They've always will let it play out for this amount of time to let Starmer come into power. The whole point was putting Starmer into power so that he could finish off the monarchy, make people hate England so much that they would be glad to see the back of the monarchy, just like they did with Biden and Harris. Make people hate Biden and Harris in America so much that they'd be glad to see the back of them and bring in Trump, which is why they did the whole woke thing of letting people embarrass themselves with the whole trans ideology and the DEI and all that, make it look like America's so bad that the only answer would be Trump because he was going to get rid of the whole lot. Which is disgraceful for the way that they treated the genuine LGBT community who just wanted to be left alone, because I'm Gen X, and I saw the way that the LGBT community were treated. See, to me, the T, trans, is a gay man who puts on a dress and performs. That's a trans person to me. A drag queen is a trans person. To me, that's what it was when I was growing up. A gay man who puts on a dress and does performance. But we remember AIDS and HIV, and we remember all of that. And we fought for our loved ones who were gay to be able to have the right to be able to get a job and go to work and walk down the street without fear of being persecuted just because they were gay. One of the greatest things that we ever witnessed in the Gen X generation was when countries and states and that started allowing gay marriage. That was such a great honour to be able to witness. Finally, gay couples didn't have to hide anymore. They could marry their partners in that and just live normal lives. And then, of course, you get people like Biden and Harris and all that came in with their whole, let's rile it all up and cause trouble amongst people and ruined it for everyone. I know so many people who are so afraid to come out because this whole woke ideology they're scared for their lives. After the Gen X generation fought so hard to give them the right just to be able to have a job and not have to worry about getting fired just because they were gay. Because when I was growing up, you could get fired just for being gay. You weren't even allowed to be in the military until, what was it, Clinton brought in the whole ask no questions thing, or was that Obama? Which is shameful. If you're in a loving, long-term, monogamous relationship with someone of the same sex, nobody has the right to tell you that who you're in love with and want to spend the rest of your life with. It's none of their business. Nobody has the right. Love is love, and if you're monogamous and faithful in that, it doesn't matter if you're the same sex. And I need to remind people as well that it's straight men who are the majority. Straight, white, wealthy men are the majority of pedophiles in this world. So they set us up. We were set up. This whole thing of Trump saying we're going to invade Greenland and no one can stop us, it's because no one is going to stop them because they're all in on it. And the fact that the British have been preparing for what they're about to do for over a year, since just after Starmer got in, since just after Trump got in, proves that they are not going to have anyone. It's all so that they can set up military bases. Because remember I said, wherever they put up military bases is wherever the natural resources are. I've been doing all those investigations on my connecting the dots with the UFOs and ghost sightings and, the gnomes and the cryptids and the werewolves and that. And I'm like, the first thing I do when I hear about these things, the Beast of Bray Road with the eagle diamonds, the first thing I do is look up to see where all the mines are and what natural resources are in the area. I haven't been wrong yet. There's always been it's been ore or lithium or diamonds or whatever. There's always been mines. I haven't been wrong yet. And you want to see how many American military bases are in Great Britain. And now they're setting up military bases in Ukraine. So they say we're gonna set up bases there for peacekeeping, just to make sure that Russia don't do anything. But it's not. It's because they're using the military to as tax funded security to protect the mines. under the guise of peacekeeping, NATO peacekeeping, but it's not. They're just taxpayer-funded security guards. And there's a lot of them here in Great Britain. Because the plan is, once they get rid of the monarchy, because remember, like, if you, even with treasure hunters, you know, when you go along with your metal detectors and that, if you find any treasure, um, it immediately becomes property of the monarchy. So if they find anything here, the monarchy has rule over it. But if they get rid of the monarchy, they get it to themselves. So they've got to get rid of the monarchy. That's how greedy they are. That's how insane they are. It's criminal insanity. They they drink the blood of children and smear it on their faces to look younger. They put fetuses and organs and that in things like Coca-Cola and McDonald's. They're cannibalistic vampires running the world, and nobody's saying anything. And here I am by myself, whistleblowing, banging the drum, trying to wake the king up, because I know that when the king wakes up, it's all over. All he has to do is make that one phone call to ring his police and say, arrest Starmer and his government, and that's it, it's all over. Then it all falls down, it all crumbles down. And then whoever he gets as the floop de floop, everybody sees as like the saviour of everything. Like, ah, sort of thing. Where did you come from? You, like, oh my God. Because the king is going to trust this person so much that people are going to be like, you know, it's just that everything I've uncovered, everything I've risked putting out there, everything I've been threatened with, every bullet I've had to dodge, every traitor, every backstabber, every disloyal person, everything I've done to wake everybody up with my investigations and stuff was to get people to the point of realising, holy shit, she's telling the truth. We need to do something about it, because my evidence speaks for itself enough that that the people are going to realise just how bad these people actually really truly are. Like, yeah, we know Keir Starmer's bad, but we didn't know it was bad enough that he's been planning this invasion of Greenland with Trump since he was in office, going back to when Trump was in office. I'm going to have to look up to see, was it Boris Johnson? Was it Boris Johnson? It's either Boris Johnson or I think Gordon Brown were in office the first time. I'm going to have to look. I I'll put the links in the description box below of what I've just uncovered. But before you read it all, I really suggest that you sit down with a whiskey or a glass of wine and have a few sips before you read it, because when this stuff gets out, I think it's going to tip people over the edge in a way that Trump and Starmer and that are not going to come back from. People were forced to suffer. People were forced. They created floods. They created disasters. They forced people out of their homes. They made people homeless. They made people freeze. They made people go hungry. They made people sit in the dark. They made people send their babies off to war, their loved ones off to war, ripped their children from their homes, ripped their babies out of their bodies, sent kids off in shipping containers all around the world to do unspeakable evil to them, just so that when they were ready to pull off what they're trying to pull off now, they would have no resistance to it, because they wanted to break the will of the people so much that the people wouldn't notice what was going on right under their noses, and that it's been set up for that long. This didn't just happen from his first election win to his second one to the Biden Harris administration. It's like to the war in Ukraine with Ukraine and Russia. It's been planned since 2016. Well, technically, the Queen says since World War Two, bringing in the army bases, the military bases. She said it, the destruction of her actual monarchy, of her family, like her and her husband and her children and all that, the direct line, started in World War Two, which is when they started putting all the military bases in. They used World War Two as an excuse to bring in, set up all the American military bases, so that when they were ready to get rid of the king, or the queen, and now the king, the military bases would already be here. They've been quietly staging a coup since World War Two, and now Trump's leading it. And it can't be denied. And the British military and the British government have been helping him do it. Such is the level of betrayal of my Queen and King Charles. There isn't a single person running his military, his police force, or his government that he can trust. They've been out to get him since World War Two, since his mother was a princess. They've been out to destroy America since Clinton, Obama. Well, my dreams from the cleansing said the black president. When the black president comes in, that's when America will start collapsing. Obama. That was in the 90s. I think I said that at the time when Clinton was president, I think. Or was it Bush? I was 19. I just lost my sister. I can't remember. I was too busy grieving. So, yeah, technically, around the same time they were talking about bringing Trump in, and Tony Blair was rising in politics since the 80s. I started having my visions after I lost my sister. She died in 1991. So I was 18 when she died, so I was somewhere between 18 and 19. That was in 91. Trump and Blair started rising around about, well, 83 for Blair, 85 for Trump. So that's how long that we're dealing with now, with the poverty and the war in Russia and Ukraine, that's how long we've been dealing with it for, since the 80s. That's how long it's been planned. Where they've been putting all the chess pieces in place to make it happen. It's been since World War Two, according to the Queen's codes, but actually putting the players in place since the 80s, between 83 and 85. It's been a lie this whole time, people. Trump was never on your side. Biden and Harris were never on your side. Clinton, Obama, Boris Johnson, Keir Starmer, Sunak, Gordon Brown, none of them. They've never been on our side. Everything that they've done was to get them to the point where they are now, where they're starting to land grab and steal resources. And in order to do that, they have to kill off a huge chunk of the population of the world so that they have no resistance. Which means that all those babies in Ukraine, over 1 million of them, and all the sacrifices of Palestine and all that. They were sacrifices. They weren't the casualties of war. They knew it was going to happen. They planned it to happen. They planned to wipe out Ukraine. They planned to wipe out Palestine. It's been a plan for a long time. And COVID was part of it. And this Pegasus thing, and the NHS helped them. The NHS were in on it. Your health secretaries and, your medical establishments in your countries, they were all in on it because they got paid, because money, because of greed. So I can't wait to see them all hang. I won't feel sorry for the doctors and nurses that are swinging from the ropes. Not one bit. Not one cop. I'm not going to feel sorry for any of them. Because they're the minions, they're the agents of the devil. And these people don't deserve to be in our society where we have things like sunsets and kittens and babbling brooks and mighty oak trees and blue skies and laughter and the smell of coffee and fresh bread and people talking in cafes and people singing in karaoke bars and people holding hands and falling in love. They don't deserve to be a part of that world. And that's what's coming. Factories opening up, jobs being created, opening up the mines again, people using their resources to stoke their fires and fatten their land. That's what's coming once the king wakes up and makes that bloody phone call. He's literally got invaders on his doorstep and he's blindfolded. So the only thing that I'm pissed off about is that Donald Trump isn't going to live long enough to swing from the rope. The fear of what's coming is going to stop his heart. And he's just going to be removed, and that's not fair. But for all the rest of them, I can't wait. I'm not going to feel sorry for any of them. These anti-vaxxers, all these celebrities and these bosses that fired people for not having the vaccines. I was just following orders. I didn't know. Well, that's not going to be good enough because you all conspired to murder my queen. You were all traitors to my king. You were traitors to your own people. You were traitors to your own country. You were traitors to your own ancestors. You don't deserve to be a part of our society. You don't deserve to be a part of what's coming. So I'll put links in the description box, but I'm telling you now, get yourself a beer or a whiskey, something strong. I would recommend like a shot of vodka, a shot of tequila, get some whiskey or something. Sit down and have a drink of wine before you click on what I've just uncovered, especially if you're American, Ukrainian, Russian, or British, and Canadian. Commonwealth. Because I'm God's daughter and I'm an occult physicist and I'm around the darkest kind of stuff every day of my life. But what I've just stumbled upon has shocked me so much that my blood ran cold up my spine. Such is the level of betrayal and planned strategic evil. I'm going to use that Q post for the thumbnail of this, and it is proof that Donald Trump has been planning this thing the whole, to help take the monarchy out. trying to appear like the saviour. He wants so desperately to be seen as the saviour. He wants people to fear him. So just prepare yourself, and please just pray that the king wakes up, because when he wakes up it's all over. The whole thing comes down. And I know Starmer's about to get arrested. I know he is. So I'm going to go. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō.